Welcome to the Dr. Nikki Starr Show, a podcast to support you in your spiritual awakening and personal development. As a spiritual teacher, healer, and intuitive coach, my intention is to empower you to live your ultimate potential and your ultimate life. As a former medical doctor and mystic, my role is to bridge the gap between science and spirituality to support you in understanding more of your multidimensional aspects. I share on a diverse range of topics, and it's all to support your greatest becoming. My mission is to continue reaching millions of people for the healing and awakening of humankind for the creation of the new earth. Thank you for being here.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Dr. Nikki Starr Show. Today, we're here with Vicky Godfrey. She is the founder of DNApal, and we both live here in Ibiza. So I thought, let's do the podcast in person. She was referred to me by a friend who did her own DNApal. We're going to talk a little bit about what it is, why you might be interested in getting it done yourself. And so, Vicky, welcome. I invite you to introduce yourself.
Hi, so I'm Vicky. I'm one of the co-founders of DNApal. I was stood in Tesco's in East London, and I just done my own DNA test, and I was really unsure about where my DNA was going to end up. So there was two reasons really in Tesco's in East London in Bow. One was wanted to create a safe space because I found the information completely so valuable for myself, and it completely changed my life, changed my children's life, my partner's life, because they've all done tests. So I wanted to create a safe space where the DNA couldn't be sold on, the data isn't sold on. And secondly, we wanted to create an app. And with this app, we want it to become the PAL to everyone's DNA. And we want to simplify it, not dumb down the science, because the science is the science, but make it easier for the layman to understand it and understand what to do. And I was overwhelmed with my results. When I got my results back, I was like, whoa, but what does that actually mean? And when I was stood in Tesco's in the vegetable aisle, I was just like, I just want to know what to eat for my DNA. And that's where DNApal was born. And we want to become the PAL to, guide you through life on your DNA. Your DNA doesn't change. So it's a one-off investment. And you've got those results for the rest of your life. But what does change is your life circumstances. So for a woman, we've got fertility, we've got stress, we might lose a parent, which is unavoidable, but could cause us stress. We've got menopause, we've got perimenopause, we've got postmenopause, and all of these different life stages change, but your DNA doesn't. So what happens is it's a wonderful tool to keep coming back to look at various genes of how does my body work. It's literally a roadmap to how your body works.
Beautiful. And so just to break it down for all of you, and Vicky will share as well. So what Vicky's talking about is we are each unique in the sense that we don't all digest food the same way. So now I'm going to be putting on my MD hat, as you all know, I'm really a walker in both worlds. Like, I did go through my medical training, and I also believe in the holistic nature of humans. And that's what's missing in Western medicine. So basically, when they say like kale is good for everyone, that's not true. Not everyone, even if you don't have celiac, not everyone can handle gluten. Some people have intolerances and sensitivities to foods and products and toxins in the environment that you wouldn't be aware of. Like, you might have some brain fog, you might get some bloating, maybe some gas, and you're thinking like, oh, like this is just normal. This is just how I feel. My energy is low. But with this kind of test, there is, and you can explain more of the science of how it's actually done, but essentially they're able to look at our genes and let us know, actually, oh wait, you have a gluten intolerance where it actually is bad for your brain. And that's why when you eat gluten, you actually get brain fog. But for you, this other person over here, if you eat gluten, you might not be able to digest food because it causes inflammation in your gut. And same thing with different types of vitamins. So if you're buying supplements and all these different vitamins come in different form. Like, for example, methylated or not. And methylated has like a CH3, if I remember my chemistry correctly. And what happens is certain people's digestive systems can't digest the raw version of a supplement or a mineral or a nutrient that you're taking as a supplement. And then if you can find out if you need the methylated version or not, then you're, first of all, not wasting all your money on these supplements that you're just peeing out and not even digesting, but you really get to know what works best for your body. So this is why having this information is great, not only if you have a health problem. And if you're watching the video version, I have health in quotation marks, because really we're meant to feel our best. As humans, we're meant to be energized. We're meant to feel really clear in our minds. We're meant to feel really good. And the problem is most people are satisfied with being tired, with feeling low energy, mind fog, bloating, gas. Like, most people are thinking that's normal. It's not. We're not meant to feel anything other than energized, and our food is meant to be part of that energy. And because there's an infinite amount of foods and things you can eat, why not know what's the best for you? And the way you can find out, like, what's your specific best diet, what's your specific best medicine is food, is through something like this, through the DNA testing. And you can share a bit more about the science.
It's thriving, not surviving, isn't it? I think a lot of people go through, it's not until their health improves and they feel better do they realize how bad they felt. And I get this a lot in clinic, and they say, well, I was just living this life that I thought was normal, and then suddenly, whoa, I'm now at this level and I can't believe it. Now I realize how tired I was, how fatigued I was, or brain fogged I was, because we've cleared it. And it's so right about the intolerances. We look at gluten intolerance, we look at lactase intolerance. We look at which vitamins you have an increased need of. So a good example for me is NOS3 gene, which is about nitric oxide and about fish oils and omega-3. I have an increased need of omega-3 to help and support the nitric oxide and my heart health. My genes are quite rubbish, actually. So I've got a lot of reds, high impact. So, that makes me even more passionate, and I have to do the work. I have to work harder. I do have to take extra supplements. So vitamin D, for example, the VDR gene, my skin receptors don't absorb vitamin D. So, okay, a DNA test has told me this. So what do I do then? I get tested twice a year, September and March. You'd have thought after a summer of sun, my vitamin D levels would be okay, right? They're not. So last September, my vitamin D levels were 26, which is borderline deficient. 25 and under is deficient. Really, you want to be somewhere between 65 to 100. So a little way to go. Then I tested in March this year, and I've got it up to 48. So still not optimal, still not. And that's with supplementing. So there's another gene we look at, the GC gene, which is how the vitamin D transports, because it's the liver that's going to hold that vitamin D for 4 months and utilize it. But if you don't have enough going into winter, then you're just, 4 months, which is why a lot of the time we see flu and cold season quite bad around December, January time. If you're in the Northern Hemisphere, kind of summer is June, July, August. You'll have used up all of your stores. So that's why we see the flu season so bad around Christmas and January time, because the stores have run out if you had enough in the first place. Or, if you're not blessed to live in Ibiza and you live in the UK or somewhere, quite, grey a lot of the year round, you're probably going to lack in vitamin D anyway. But, if you don't have the ability to transport it or absorb when there is, then you're going to need a little bit more help. So, that for me has been invaluable, especially navigating a pandemic. and knowing that your weakness is vitamin D, and also reading some data that, you know, a lot of the mortality was due to low vitamin D levels.
Well, yeah, because you're getting into something that I remember when I was in medical school, learning that even though we don't often think of vitamin D as a vitamin that's associated with the immune system, it is. And a lot of people with chronic disease have low vitamin D levels. And also, even I think it was cancers were also an autoimmune disease were also correlated to low vitamin D levels. So it's no surprise, though, because it's so important. It's so important, so much so that our bodies just naturally produce it being in the sun. But as Vicky's mentioning, if you are having, because of your genes, a hard time making the vitamin D or transporting or whatever part of the process, knowing which part of the process by doing the DNA test could then help you supplement in a way that's supportive. Like I know my friend who introduced me to Vicky, she has to do vitamin injections because for certain vitamins, even taking them by mouth is not enough. And so you can really optimize. And for me, I left Western medicine because I'm all about ultimate potential. Not like, okay, we're healthy, we're good. I don't seem to have any disease, but it's really we're meant to feel amazing, incredible, our optimal best selves, right? And so this is a big part of the journey to living our ultimate potential, is really about stepping into what are the things that you can do, be proactive. You know, even Vicky, you mentioned like you're really doing the work in moments, but because this is like a really proactive project. And you also spoke to something that I want to make sure I touch upon while I still remember is I never got my hereditary information done. You know how people do like 23andMe or to find out what the blood actually is, because obviously people migrated all over the world. And the reason why is I was scared that my DNA would be taken and be cloned. And I'm like, I don't want to be cloned. Who knows what they're doing with that DNA? And so, yeah, if you can speak on that, because now I feel comfortable doing this, which I'm going to do it at the end of this episode. I'm going to do it if you're watching the video version.
Well, I mean, without going into the big brand names and stuff like that, you know, two of the big brand names did sell. And one sold to a pharmaceutical company, which I kind of get because, you know, pharmacology, understanding more about side effects of certain drugs could be beneficial to all of us in the future. Should we ever need a pharmaceutical procedure, you know, would this painkiller, you know, make me a lot sicker, or, you know, can you even metabolize the painkiller? So there are some benefits. But then there was another big brand that sold to a consumer, BlackRock and Vanguard, which, you know, we're not quite sure. I know they own probably 3/4 of the world, not quite sure where that pathway of where it's going to end up, you know. So you do need to be careful, you do need to check, and you tend to find that the cheaper the DNA test, the more likely they are planning to sell the DNA. And the biggest thing is to look at the research box. They get you to tick a research box because that's how they get around it. Sorry, excuse, got a little frog in the throat today. That's that tick of the box for research will be the way round that they can then sell your DNA. And a lot of people that I speak to that have ticked that box went, oh, I did it for good. And I'm like, well, you just made somebody 4.6 billion. You know, it's worth a lot. So do always research that whether any company you're going to use is going to ethically use your data.
So basically you're saying when you do submit your results, there's something that says like, would you like to use your DNA for research?
Yes.
And if you click yes, that means they could sell it.
Yes.
But if you don't, then they technically can't.
Yes.
Even though we don't know, maybe they do anyway, but technically.
You don't know. Yeah, once it's in their hands, it's in their hands.
Yeah.
Are you ever really going to be able to track it?
Yeah. Okay, well, that's good information. So if you are thinking about getting your hereditary done, but why not use... So
yeah, we have a third party, so you can get your raw data, and then if you get in touch with us, we've got a third party that's safe that you can use your raw data from us to find out your hereditary information or your ancestral information.
Yeah, and it's, I feel like it's good to know that, in the sense of, I remember, like, even if we look at different people and what they eat, we know like Northern European countries rarely have lactose intolerance,
Yeah.
and rarely have gluten, because meat, not meat, but bread and cheese were like a big staple of the diet in like Northern Europe.
Yeah.
But then like people in South America, so I'm South American blood as well, and for us, like, lactose is like so bad.
Yeah.
Usually if you're South American blood, you have like lactose intolerance no matter what.
Yeah. And Asians, Asian communities. And it's really interesting because you've got the lactase enzyme. Okay. So breast milk, when we're breastfed, we have the lactase enzyme. But after infancy, the lactase enzyme naturally goes, because we're not supposed to drink milk. We're not supposed to. Somehow this marketing message got a bit confused. Don't drink your mother's milk, drink some cow's milk. Well, the cow's milk's for calves, right? So, and then we've got yogurt and cheese, and I understand that is a good source of protein, but 50% of Caucasians have not developed the lactase enzymes. 50% of Caucasians have. And then when you look at the data in the kind of Asian, I don't know so much about South Americans and that thing, but Asians, I know a little bit more about their data. Only 16% have ever even developed the lactase enzyme to be able to break down the lactase. And again, like, how fascinating is evolution, that when we're pushed into an environmental situation, that we develop new enzymes and genes and SNPs to be able to deal with our outside environment. And that I find fascinating. I'm like, whoa, our human bodies are amazing through evolution, where we're pushed into this by society or marketing in this case.
Yeah. And it's so true, because one of the first blogs I ever wrote when I was kind of moving out of Western medicine and into the more holistic path, and I still do health coaching as part of all the aspects of coaching that I do, because it's still a big part.
Yeah.
But I'm always about eating to optimize so that we feel our best. And I'm very much like, if you stay away from dairy, gluten, sugar, like cane sugar, like, you'll probably feel really good if you haven't been staying away from them, mainly because of what you said. Like,
yeah,
if you just use common sense, milk comes from the teats of the animals, and only babies are meant to eat it, and over time. But now we have so many great alternatives, like the different nut milks, like there's other things you can substitute, and similarly with gluten, because of evolution on the planet, and also sometimes evolution that may not be in the favor of humans, farmers decided, because of the baking industry, they wanted this kind of flour that could be like extra sticky, so it's extra fluffy and all this stuff.
Sit on the shelves for longer and all of that. So they hybridized it, didn't they? And mucked around with all the gliadin protein of the bread, so it can travel for longer and do this and do that. And now it's like Frankenstein food.
Yeah. And also the body does not recognize such a high level of those proteins. So it's like, attack, this is not good for me, because it's not how nature intended it. Some might argue that all of humanity's inventions are a part of nature because we're a part of nature. I don't know. I think when we kind of meddle too much in the natural systems, we can find ourselves getting in trouble a bit, because the same is true in food science with like the use of sugar and different crunch and different flavors. It actually makes people addicted, and you can eat more because of the sugar and the salts and the food science. So you really want to be mindful of like what you're putting in.
That they add in. They know, don't they? They know exactly how to get to your dopamine receptors, especially with once you pop, you just can't stop type of vibe. They know they've hit the salt, they've hit the sugar, they've hit not the good fats, the bad fats, but it's still a fat that all goes up to the dopamine receptor to goes more.
Yeah, exactly. So ideally, if you're looking to optimize, like, even if you're like at a good baseline, but you're here to live your ultimate potential. And even if you find that your lymphatic system, you have bloating, or you're trying to get off those extra pounds or not, like maybe you just have low energy levels. Basically, if you feel anything other than energized after you eat, amazing, incredible, I feel like it's a good idea to support yourself
Yeah.
in getting this information, because then you can really start to choose foods and choose a diet that is supportive for your thriving.
Yes.
And then if you do have health issues, absolutely, that's like a given. So it's both. It's like if you are struggling with your health, but also if you just want to optimize, and also if you're just curious. Like I've been wanting to do my hereditary because I am so curious, because I'm so many things too. So I'm like excited for that piece, but I haven't felt like trusting enough.
Yeah.
But now that you've guaranteed like you don't sell it, then I'm like
destroyed.
Amazing. Yay. So is there anything else that you would want to share with anyone before we kind of do the test on me? And like, is there anything else that you feel is important to share about the test? Or
yes, I think with hormones and things like that, very valuable. There's a couple of methylation pathways that can really affect hormones, and depending again where you're at, fertility, or you might just have horrible hormones in your 20s and not even be thinking of fertility, or you might be going into perimenopause or meno or post-meno. You know, there's so many stages for women. Don't men get it easier? They do, don't they? And they don't have as many stages as us. I've just found that invaluable again, because we look at estrogen receptors, how the estrogen binds to the receptor. How can you detox the hormones out of your body? Because hormones need to leave once they've been used and not build up and cause hormone imbalances.
Yeah, so I want to mention a specific, you're reminding me, because this is one thing I think that I may have, is women who suffer from PMS. This is because you're unable to properly metabolize estrogen being one of them, some of the hormones during that time. So if you're someone like me, that like you become a different person, maybe you need to lock yourself away, you have like a short temper, you're like impatient, you might find you're a little irritated or angry, and you're just like, why do I feel this way? I'm like, ugh. It could be because of one of these pathways.
Estrogen and progesterone balance that isn't quite balanced.
And there are supplements that support this, right? So then you can target that, and then you don't have to suffer. The people in your life don't have to suffer. And really, that's connected to mental health.
Yeah.
A lot of the hormone imbalances.
And also as well, you find like, you know, if it knocks you out for several days a month, that's every month that you're getting knocked out for a few days a month. And there is stuff you can try. There is food you can do. There is herbs you can try. It doesn't all have to be, you know, synthetic hormones or the pill, or I'm just going to stop my period on a progesterone only pill. You know, there are lots of things you can try. But again, if you try and do it without the knowledge, it's real trial and error, you know. Some stuff can make you feel worse before it makes you feel better, things like that. But if you've got the roadmap of how your body works and how your hormones work, it takes out some of the guesswork.
Yeah.
You know,
and
that's
even
invaluable.
I remember even if you have like low omega-3s, that can predispose you to PMS, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's a lot we can do to support ourselves, even with food. So when you just eat foods that are high in omega-3s, you don't even have to take the supplements. Like I know I'm someone who doesn't take supplements. I have in moments like, okay, let me just prepare for baby making, you know, and then I take it and then I like let it go. But at least now if I have more like information that's like, this is actually what your body needs, then I don't feel like it's so frivolous.
Well, this
and then
is
I'm more inspired.
You know, some people come to me and they're on 10 different supplements, and I go, what are you taking them for? They go, can we do a supplement review? I go, of course we can. What are you taking them for? And they go, don't know, read a magazine article, saw an advert on the telly, popped into the local health food shop, they were talking about this, I thought I'd try it. And they absolutely have no idea why, you know, whether they actually need it or not, you know, just because they read something. So this is a bit more guidance on that. So you mentioned, you know, your friend who did a DNA test, that injections suit her better of a certain vitamin. Well, this is because there's a gene that looks at B12, whether you can absorb B12 through the gut. And to absorb B12 through the digestive system, you need a thing called an intrinsic factor. Now, some people's intrinsic factor isn't so great. And if your intrinsic factor is not so great, it doesn't mean can't absorb at all. It just means it might be slow, or your B12 levels might be low all the time, and you might not understand why. So an injection would suit you better because we're avoiding the digestive system. So understanding the why, the how, just empowers you, right?
Yeah.
You're empowered about how your body works. And for me, that's the biggest gift this test can give you. Empowerment.
Absolutely. So you mentioned about like in clinic. So do you have a clinic here in Ibiza, or are you mainly online? Or
online
so you're online.
On Zoom.
Great. So anyone around the world, if you're wanting more of a consult and direct support and guidance, you can work with Vicky on all this. Like, this is what she specializes in. And this test ships all around the world, right?
Yes.
So no matter if they're in America or the UK, Europe,
everywhere. We've got clients in America, Canada, all over Europe.
Amazing.
New Zealand, Australia.
Beautiful. Yeah. I mean, that's the gift of the internet these days, and being able to work remotely wherever we want in the world.
Yeah.
So yeah, beautiful. It's so nice to hear. And so basically now, so then I'm with you in person, right?
Yes.
So I would do the swab on myself.
Okay, I can help you if you want.
So if you're listening to this podcast, you might want to tune into YouTube the following Monday after this is released on the streaming platforms, because I'm going to be doing it. I am about to do it live on the camera. So I can talk you through it, but you might want to see, because this is meant to be like really easy, right? So that like anyone can do this. And it comes in a sanitary, like sealed, sterilized, like when you go to the doctor and you need to maybe do a swab of sorts, it's the same. So what am I going to do? I'm going to open this.
Yes. And then you're going to place that and 1 to 2 minutes inside your mouth.
Okay. 1 to 2 minutes. Okay. And then you put it on your cheeks?
Inside of your cheeks, kind of your gums, all.
So not your tongue.
No, not your tongue.
Not the tongue. So just cheeks,
the inside of the cheeks, and both sides, and gum, and just around. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm opening the package. And then you put it in this after. So then there's like
going over to the lab.
Okay. So then there's another sterilized envelope thing.
And see this RD code? This is what's going to keep you anonymous to the lab. So only Kate and I will know whose code matches which person.
So there's a sticker with a barcode, and then it has a number on it. So she's saying that's our identification number. So our name remains,
because it still has to go to a lab. It still has to go into a machine for just over 2 weeks.
So this is also why they could never sell it. Well, I guess they could, but they wouldn't know it's connected to you.
You wouldn't know you wouldn't know. Yeah. But it doesn't. It gets destroyed.
Yeah, it gets destroyed. Okay.
And there are spot checks and ISO and all sorts that happen with the lab to make sure that all of these processes happen.
Okay. So it's almost like a pink, like a plastic. It's like a Q-tip almost, or like a pink plastic stick, and then like a cotton swab at the end. And now I'm going to...
A Buscal swab is the official...
Swab.
Yeah, it's the official term.
Okay. So while I'm swabbing, if you want to keep sharing whatever information, because I won't be able to talk. All right, I'm going to go. I'm going to start my 1 to 2 minutes, and you can just keep sharing whatever.
Okay. So the other things that we look at intolerances-wise is we talked about gluten and lactase, caffeine sensitivity, and whether caffeine before midday will suit you, the Adora 2A. It also looks at fitness, the best way to train. So we had an example of a guy who was overweight. He was doing HIIT training and just couldn't shift the weight. And when his DNA came back, his results, it said endurance training would suit him better. So he swapped from HIIT to endurance, and the weight fell off. How fab is that? Just one tiny tweak. Sometimes I get somebody lost a lot of weight in 6 weeks. Not a huge amount, say a stone in 6 weeks. In kilos, I'm not sure what that is, but in pounds, it's about 14 pounds. I don't know how many kilos there is to a pound, but anyway, a few kilos. And it was a simple swap, as in protein with every meal. They needed protein with every meal, and they weren't. Their diet was quite carby. a lot of carbohydrates, and getting off in London on the tube 2 stops before their actual stop. So they got a little bit of walk, a little bit more gentle exercise. It wasn't even hardcore having to go to the gym because they didn't like the gym. We agreed just protein and two tube stops early to walk the rest to work, to make sure they get a gentle, energetic, exercise. And yeah, they lost in 6 weeks, lost so much weight, or not so much weight, but they brought their body back into balance. It's not about being skinny. It's not about being unhealthy skinny. It's about bringing your body back into balance, bringing your body back into homeostasis, and understanding how to do that. So, this is the baseline. This is the baseline of your health. And then, like I said, I do regular blood tests. So I'll go and check my vitamin D levels twice a year. If your B12 comes up as flagged that you may not be able to absorb via your gut, then I would recommend you doing B12 a couple of times a year to just check that, to check the DNA, to check that can you absorb via your gut. Oh no, my levels are still, I've been taking supplements for 3 months. My levels are still low. Therefore, injections really are going to suit me. So again, just playing with the results yourself, so you truly understand your body.
Wow,
so that's all good.
That's amazing that you can really get all of that information. So I'm just putting this swab in.
I mean, I'm trained in cancer, so again, in breast cancer, when it's hormone driven, this test is invaluable. It just, if your estrogen receptors are clinging onto the estrogen and your estrogen detox pathways are bad, then you can see how people have ended up where they've ended up. So sometimes it's unpicking and working through. You need that ID number, that's it. And then
so do you basically, so just if you're watching the video version, see there's a fold line. So I put the swab in, I folded it, and then do I stick this on?
Yeah.
So basically I seal the folds with the barcode that has my unique number on it. Perfect. So it looks like this.
Great.
Amazing.
And then I don't know about the internet here where we are, but it's a simple card. And we do have to ask your permission to sequence your DNA because it is your DNA. There's no research boxes to tick. So
you're not doing that.
No.
Right.
So a QR code here, and that will take you to a simple Google Docs form. In there, you will register your RD code and your email. This is so, 1, we've got permission to sequence, and 2, when the results come in, we know who to email the results to. So that, correlates the RD to your name and your email, because otherwise, how do we know who to email results to?
And then how do we, so then you just mail it where?
So I'll take the swab today. If you're in the UK, you get given a self stamped addressed envelope, but worldwide we can't do that because we just don't know all the different countries how much it is to post back. So you would just get given an address in your thing where to post your sample back to.
Okay, amazing.
But I'm going to take that for you and post it for you.
So much easier. Woo.
That's that. So you need to take a picture of that code because that's your code.
Let's take a picture.
And then I'm going to leave you this card, and then later on when you're on the internet, if you could do this barcode, fill out this Google Doc form.
Okay, I'll do that after I'm finished. Okay, beautiful. So everyone, we're going to also have a bonus content, which we're going to brainstorm on what that's going to be. I think I have an idea. Well, we'll talk about it. And then, so you can catch us for more inside the bonus content. If not, you can go to, let people know where they can find you and find information about the test.
Yeah. So, excuse me, this frog is not going, is it, this morning? Excuse me. www.DNApal.me. We wanted to do the .pal because the DNApal, because we want to become the pal to your DNA and guide you through your life and stay with you for life, because it's so fascinating, especially across these different life stages. And the .me is because it's all about me, well, you, but me, if that makes sense. So DNApal.me. And if you've got any questions, you can get hold of me at hello@DNApal.me. So just say hello, shout some questions, and me and Kate will be there ready to answer.
Are you on Instagram also?
Yes, we're on Instagram at DNA.pal, P-A-L. And also, if you just want to, I'm also a nutritional therapist, a registered clinician one, and trained in cancer, as I mentioned before. And you can find me at a natural path. So like a bit of a skew on a naturopath, a natural path.
Is it a naturopath.com?
No, it's on
Instagram.
Instagram. It's at _natural path.
Okay, beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you can go connect with Vicky, go get your DNApal test so you have more information about yourself, and we will see you inside the bonus content. Thank you so much for being here, and bye for now.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Dr. Nikki Starr Show. Please like this podcast and share it with anyone you feel would benefit. Subscribe to the podcast to receive bonus content, and remember, every Monday the video version goes live on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for being on the Ascension path with me and for doing this great work.